Some of you will have seen when I've put this irrigation system onto my newly planted avocado trees that I decided to incorporate a timer into the system so that I didn't really have to think about the process of watering. So this little video is a review of the timer and how it works. I've done this simply because I'm purchasing a fairly cheap timer and thought people may be interested in how it functions, whether it works or not, and timers like this could be useful in automating a lot of watering around your garden. So what I've chosen to buy in terms of a timer is quite a cheap timer. It's a $49 Holman BTX1 smart valve. Now it's Bluetooth operated, and so this is what comes out of the box. There's nothing on here in the way of switches, dials or screens or anything to tell you what's going on. Everything is controlled from your phone via Bluetooth, and that's what we're going to really have a good look at. I have played around with it to try and work out how to adjust it in advance, and yes, it was not the easiest thing. It was not intuitive. It took a little bit of working out. So the only thing that opens is the battery compartment, which I've got that battery in back to front, so you just reverse that battery to connect it up. Now the battery does not come with it at $49. You have to buy an extra battery. And look, my first question in my mind is, how long is this battery going to operate it for? Only time is going to establish that for me, but that's going to be the weak point. Flat batteries is going to be the expensive issue potentially. I think probably, like anything, it's how much it's operating could be an issue. So if you're setting it to run every day, it's probably going to use a lot more battery than if it's only running once a month. Anyway, we'll find out with time. The unit looks reasonably strong, and considering it's just a valve in there that opens and closes, that's, you know, a relatively simple thing. Now this would release off here. You would pull that out to take it off once it's screwed on. However, in my situation, I'm using it for micro irrigation, so I'm taking the snap fitting off the bottom, and don't need that one either. Now in the top here it has a filter. I'll let you have a look at that. Now I have spring water and it's gravity feed, and it has a lot of sediment in it. If I ran the tap through this would block up in a few minutes and I'd lose function. So what I'm actually doing is I've got a micro irrigation filter, an older type which has thread both ends, and I'm actually going to screw that on in advance. Now if you're in town with town water, this won't be so much of an issue. So putting that on there, and then I can couple that onto the tap, but at the bottom I'll put the fitting to connect the micro irrigation pipe to, so that will just screw up reasonably nicely. Just get it firm, and so now I can connect this to the tap fitting. Now before we go further, we might as well establish that this is all functional. So I'll connect the battery up, fish the connection out, and plug the battery in. Better do it the right way. Now this is the only thing that switches the switches the unit on or off. If you haven't got the battery plugged in, naturally it's not going to work. Once you've plugged it in, it is functional. There is no switch. That at least means that there isn't another potential leak point in the unit, but maybe it'd be nice to be able to switch the Bluetooth off and save some power. Now that I've got that connected up, I'm going to turn the tap on and see if there are any leaks. Okay, there's no water coming out anywhere, and that's a really good sign. So now it's time to go over to my phone. Okay, I hope you're going to be able to see here as I try and operate this from the phone. Now, the app that you'll need to install from the Play Store or the App Store is the Holman iGardener, and that's basically the only instruction that you really get is how to connect it and to go and install this app. So I've installed the app and it opens up like this, and it's also able to control Holman lighting. It would be garden lighting, I assume, since it's called iGardener, but irrigation is what we're going to, is the top one. First thing it's asking is to connect to Bluetooth, so we need that obviously, so we'll turn on Bluetooth. Now, I have previously connected the single tap timer. You would do that by the add device button here near my thumb. If you haven't got the timer already connected, you go add device. It says it's capable of controlling, I think it's 8 devices at once. So we've got this one on. Now, what have we got available here? There's a single tap timer. It's showing full strength. It's showing the battery being full strength signal. We touch that, does nothing. So you need to use these buttons across the top. What's in options? Simply a change device name if you want to give it something fancy, if you've got more than one. I don't need to do that, I've only got one. And technical information to show you all about it, number of valves, etc. The only useful thing there is probably the voltage being okay, that sort of information. So we'll go back. Now, zone management is where we're going to actually adjust everything. And the first thing I want to test is, will it turn on and off? So down in the bottom here, there is a manual water. So I'm going to turn that and hit that on, see what happens. Okay, this has on manual water, it's got a timing device, how long it's going to run for, and a start and stop button. So if I hit start, I should get water coming out. And yes, there's water coming out down there. So if I go stop, it turns off. Right, it's functional, it's working. So going back, we need to set up our zone, and in here there are a heap of options here in terms of a 7-day cycle, interval days, odd days, even days, cycling. It's currently on a 7-day cycle, which would allow you to switch on and off days. So if you didn't want it to water on a Thursday or a Sunday, you could switch those off, entirely up to your choices. And it's got a start time. Now, I've played with it, that's why it's got a time there, otherwise it's all zeros. And a run time. Now, you've got options for multiple starts during the day. I only need one for what I'm doing. I'm initially going to set it up to water every day, and what's not clear is you initially think, oh, I'll touch these and change them. That doesn't work. What it is a spinner, and so you actually spin the time. It's 24-hour time that you've got. I'm going to set mine to actually start at 6 AM in the morning. So I spin it across to 6 AM in the morning, and that's the start time, and how long I've got to spin this to how long I want it to run for. Very easily to change the wrong one there in that time. So okay, I've set it to 10 minutes, but I do need to test before I really set that up properly. So I'm going to do shortly a little test and see how much water my sprinklers actually produce in a minute, and then set it appropriate to the amount that I want to deliver. So once we go done on that, we then need, it's telling me here that it requires update now. So if I hit the update button, Okay, it's telling me it's no longer controlling it. I need to hit the control button. Okay, done. It's updated the tap timer. It now has that information in it. So I don't need to be connected to Bluetooth further. I don't need this app. The actual timer has been programmed. Now that I've connected the timer at the base to the irrigation system that I've got here, this micro irrigation system, I'm ready to actually test these sprinklers and see how the water's going. So I'm going to do a manual run. This Bluetooth says it's supposed to work up to 20 meters, which is quite a long range for Bluetooth, I have to say. And I've only got one bar showing. I'm probably 15 meters away from the tap. So that's not too bad. I'm quite happy with that range. So I'll hit start and we'll see if it actually operates over that range to start it up. Right, it says it's started. We'll see when some water comes through. There's never been any water through these pipes, so it'll take a little bit of time to build up some pressure. I hear some sounds, which means that air's coming out of the pipe. We're actually getting some water coming now. First spurt. So it turned on at that range without any problems. You see what's coming out there if I take it off. Yes, my pressure is not extremely high, but it's going quite high in the sky. That's cleared any air out. I'll screw this on, and there the little dribbler is working. Oh, there's still air in the pipe. I'll let some more out. I think it's turned off because it only had a minute's run time, and I think it's turned off. So I'll start it again. Yes, there it's away. Right. So that's the way these should work. A little dribble like that. And what I'm going to do now that I've got it running is actually put one in a bucket over a measured amount of time to get an idea of how much water I'm going to deliver, so that I can actually set the time properly to deliver the amount of water that I want. Okay, it's not been working properly with a manual switch on and off. It was cycling. You could hear it actually clicking through that. So I'm going to go into the zone management and set a timer and establish that it works on that. So I'm setting it a few minutes ahead of where I am. Now it is 24-hour time, so it's 4:03, so I'll just need to set it, say, for 4:05, a couple of minutes ahead of me. And I've got a fairly long run. I'll set a 10-minute run on that, and we will go. So to program that in, I hit the done, and then it says that the tap timer requires an update, so I go update, and the big tick says it's done, and so it should turn on in a couple of minutes time. We'll go and see if that actually happens. So there we have water turned on time, and we'll see how that goes. It's set to run for 10 minutes, so we'll see if it turns off in 10 minutes time. Now I've measured the amount of water that's coming from this via putting it in a bucket and measuring the amount of water that I received in 30 seconds. I got 300 mils in 30 seconds. So to give it about 10 litres a day, it will need around about 15 minutes of run time, which is probably what I'll give this. I think that to get around about 10 litres a day would be a good idea for these trees, and just keep them nice and damp this time of year. I will probably vary that as winter comes on and we're getting more rain. David the Good has a video that he put up fairly recently where he mentioned how well fruit trees will grow by having a dripping hose on them, and getting regular water I think is really important. If fruit trees don't get regular water, they can really struggle. My father grew an avocado tree fairly close to here, but he was in red soil, and over the summer, probably for around about 6 months of the year, he had this type of dribbler running lower than this, just a small amount, running 24/7, constant water to it. That tree flourished. Within 3 or 4 years, it was a really nice sized fruit tree with heaps and heaps of fruit. So getting regular water, I think, is really important to avocados, as any other fruit tree. So I'm really quite happy with this at this stage. So what are my comments in terms of this Holman timer at this point? Overall, it does appear to be working. The interface, the app that it has on the phone, is not a really friendly one. It's quite a little bit of a challenge to work out, but you can do it, and with a little bit of time playing with it, you'll understand how it works. Remember, it is 24-hour time that the timer uses. That's one of the key points, and they're spinners, so you're just going to roll through them. Hopefully it will work long term and continue to water for me. The thing that I'm not certain of at this stage, and it's going to be the critical factor, is how long the battery will last. But $49, one of the things that really got me into buying it was the fact that it has a 2-year warranty. Now, I should at this stage say this video is not sponsored by Holman or Bunnings or anybody, and make that really clear. But the 2-year warranty said, okay, Holman's been around a while, I'll trust that, and I can always come back and complain if there's something seriously wrong with it. It's almost 2 weeks now since I put this timer in, and what I've come to do with this toothbrush is not clean my teeth, but to check and clean the filter here. And then I also want to check what the battery level on this is. Just after a couple of weeks of operation, I'm interested to find out whether it's changed. And I also need to adjust the timer, because we've had quite a bit of rain now, and the weather is cooling and it's staying fairly moist, so it doesn't need to water as frequently. Also, the avocado trees have gone through their settle in period, so cutting back on watering is a good idea now. As far as I can see, they're getting watered regularly every morning. They're looking nice and damp each morning. While the timer is set at a time, 6 AM, which I'm not around, of course, but the appearance is that it's watering okay. So I have to turn this tap off and open this up. We'll see how much sediment is collected. My water supply has quite a bit of sediment, so I'll be interested to see what's in here. Here we go. Well, surprisingly little actually. I'll just give it a little scrub out anyway. The toothbrush is great for cleaning these filters. As the filter blocks up, it would naturally produce less water, so that would change the amount of water that I am getting through. But put that in there now. So that's nice and easy to clean. So turn it back on, make sure there's no leaks, and now it's time to get the phone out. So I'm hoping you can see what's happening here. I've opened up iGardener, going back to irrigation, turning on Bluetooth, and the tap timer is still showing full battery strength. Connected, no problem. We'll go into zone management, and what I'm going to do is change it just to run twice a week. So I'm going to switch off all except 2 days. So it'll run Wednesdays and Sundays, and I think that's going to do. I'll leave the time the same, go done, and we'll update. Great, I'm really happy to see that that battery is still showing full strength. So at this point, I'm really happy with this Bluetooth smart valve. I think at $49 it represents great value, and it seems to be holding and working perfectly well. So I think it's a great choice. providing that is you're prepared to work with Bluetooth in terms of programming it and setting it up.